Alright, look. I've been trying to make this build work for weeks now, ever since the new DLC dropped. And I know that the plasma cutter is showing up everywhere, but I don't like weapons that have the overheat mechanic. And I ran through all the old favorites, the typewriter, black maw, even the AS bulldog. I tried to include the death wish skill, more mod damage, but a good old hunter gunslinger still holds the top spot. But now I finally have an updated list to one of my most popular builds I've ever made on this channel. My new updated full auto crit build. Now this thing deletes bosses in seconds on Survivor if you want to just XP farm the gauntlet. And it has enough damage and survivability to clear apocalypse runs with ease. It really is an all-rounder. Now before the second DLC major overhaul update, it used to be very easy to get 100% crit chance. Not so much anymore. But with a new prism system and some new items, we can get up to 95% crit chance with this build with ease. Let me show you the build. Alright, now as I stated before, it's Hunter Gunslinger. We're using the 0-hour amulet to get 20% extra damage and 10% crit chance while we're in light class. And as long as you have the strong back perk, which increases our dodge wave threshold by 15, you can rock the high noon set with the Red Widow bracers to get 39.9%. As long as you're under 40, you're in light class still. We have the Tranquil Heart because it's my favorite relic in the whole game. And we're actually using the Monolith as our full auto weapon. The Sandstorm mod does incredible damage, and 1000 Cuts is just the perfect mutator to go with it. When it's at max stacks, it's giving me 25% extra crit chance, and also just the faster reload speed, which is great because this weapon feels like it has an eternity to reload when you're not proccing 1000 Cuts. Secondary, use whatever, but I have the Krellex with Tainted Blade, and I'm using the Nebula with feedback for my secondary. Just pop them out at the start of the fight and then forget about it. For the rings, we're actually using 2 exposed rings. The first one is the Token of Favor, which gives us 5% extra damage and 10% crit chance against exposed targets, which they'll always be exposed as long as they're going to hit with Monolith. The Floodlit Diamond gives us 24% extra weak point damage because it's doubled against exposed targets, which is better than Xania's Malice because Xania's Malice only gives us 20%. Burden of the Destroyer for 15% extra damage, and Probability Cord for 20% crit damage. For my Prism, I've got range damage, crit chance, and crit damage. And then here's the rest of the fusions that I got. I do have Trader, so I get 40 extra trade points, but obviously if you get the 45% all damage or 75% range damage, those would just be better. And like I said, you get these 4 traits maxed out with my Trader Prism, so they're going to be maxed out no matter what I do. We've also got Fortify, Regrowth, and Strong Back for defense if you're playing on Apocalypse. Recovery and Bark Skin as well. Now Chakra is actually really good, because you'll get extra mod time with your Sandstorm and with Nebula. Now let's talk about where our 95% crit chance comes from. We get 10% from Hunter Gunslinger, we get 15% from our Prisms, Monolith starts with 5% and gets another 25% from 1000 Cuts once it's maxed out, 10% from 0 hours as long as we're in light class, 10% from Token of Favor. Now here's the other thing you can do. If you drop the Floodlit Diamond and the Burden of the Destroyer, and pick up Akari Warband and Burden of the Gambler, this is another 10 and 10, which gives us 95% crit chance. Now obviously Burden has its own downside of disabling weak points, but if you're ever fighting a boss that doesn't have a weak point, or a weak point that's really hard to hit, just swap them out. Take the 95% crit chance, it's fine. Alright, now that's the build in its entirety. I have 3 bosses on Survivor, and then 3 more on Apocalypse, so you can see them in action. Subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.